welcome back to the channel. My name is Sabrina, and if you can't tell by the color scheme we have going on today, we are focusing on blueberries today. We're gonna make a high protein, low calorie ice cream that we're gonna make in the Ninja Creami. So it is super delicious. It's also really pretty to look at, and it's definitely gonna help you reach your protein goals. So let's go ahead and get into the recipe. So one of the many great things about this recipe is that you don't need too many ingredients. So I'm going to start off with some blueberries, and I have about 100 grams in this cup, and that is about 1 cup of blueberries. I just really like to measure everything because I'm a baker and I also track my macros, but about a cup of blueberries, or if you really want, 100 grams. And you may have noticed this is not the first time I'm doing a fruit creamy ice cream recipe. So I did a strawberry one before that was so good, and I've kind of learned from that, and I want to make it easier on myself. So in that one, I took the actual pint and I kind of mashed down the fruit. I warmed it up first to make it a little bit easier, and then sort of stirred everything together. And obviously that wasn't difficult, but I thought I could make it even more efficient by doing everything in this blender cup. So that's what I'm going to be doing today. And then another difference from that recipe, I wanted to make one with 30 grams of protein. So this one's going to be tweaked a little bit to reach that 30 grams of protein, and it's also going to have 230 calories, which I feel like is a great calorie to protein ratio. So anyways, if you're wondering why I'm starting in this cup, it's so that I can use the blender to help me blend everything together before I put it in the creamy pint. Okay, so to my cup of blueberries, I'm going to add 100 milliliters of this Fairlife milk. And this is also another improvement from the recipe I did before, which was fantastic, but I really like this Fairlife milk. I just hadn't bought it in a while, and since I knew I was going to be doing a couple creamy recipes, I had to pick it up again. What I like about this is compared to a regular 2% milk, it's going to have less calories and more protein, which is always what I'm looking for, and it also tastes great. So Fairlife milk is generally something I definitely recommend, and it works really well in creamies. So I'm going to add about 100 milliliters of milk to the cup. Okay, I'm at 101, but I can live with that. I think that's going to be great. Next up, I'm just going to add some of this low-fat cottage cheese. This week, I happen to have it from Target. This is their Good and Gather brand. And the macros on this for half a cup is 80 calories and 12 grams of protein. So I really like adding cottage cheese to creamies. I thought it was crazy when I first heard it, but I think it really helps add to the creaminess and the overall smooth texture. And then it's also going to add a couple of grams of protein. So I really recommend it. Even if you're skeptical, just give it a try. However, if you really are not a fan of cottage cheese, or you just don't happen to have it, you may instead have some of this sugar-free, fat-free pudding mix. This is something you see people using in creamies a lot. I use it in creamies sometimes. I'm not in today's recipe. This is the Aldi brand, but Jell-O obviously makes a sugar-free, fat-free pudding mix in a couple different flavors, but I would recommend if you don't have the cottage cheese or you're just not interested in it, then this is something you can use as well. And it will help thicken the creamy and just give it a little bit more body and that nice smooth texture. So this is an alternative if you're not into the cottage cheese. But since I am, I'm going to add 55 grams of this cottage cheese, which is roughly 1/4 of a cup. Okay, so the last ingredient is going to be protein powder, and you can use whatever protein powder you like. I happen to really like this one. This is the Quest Vanilla Milkshake. I think it has great macros, and it works really well in these creamies that have fresh fruit in them. It just tastes, I don't know, very natural and gives it some of that ice cream flavor, I think, maybe being vanilla milkshake. It's ready to go. Another protein powder I really like is the PE Science protein powder. I've mentioned that one before, so I'm sure that would go great in here as well. And again, because I'm boosting this one up to 30 grams of protein, I'm going to be using 25 grams of protein powder. And that's it. It's just 4 ingredients. It's the blueberries, the protein powder, the cottage cheese, and the milk. And you could play around with those quantities, and you could also play around with the flavors, of course. What I'm gonna do now is just take the lid for this blender cup, put it on, and so the creamy doesn't have to struggle with pulverizing this when it's actually doing its ice cream making. I'm gonna go ahead and give it a whiz now. The creamy is pretty resilient. So it probably could handle this, but I really like my Creami and I want to treat it well and make sure it lasts a long time. So I'm going to blend it ahead of time just to make sure it will be good to go. Okay, that was super easy. I just started on low and then I put it on medium for like a second. I'm probably going to shake it around just a bit. There we go. To make sure I incorporate all that protein powder. So all that's left to do is take what's in the blender cup here, get it into my Creami pint, put it in the freezer, and then let it freeze. Usually overnight is what's recommended. I would say at least 12 hours. Like if you make it in the morning, you're probably good to go for having it at night. I would not recommend anything under 6 hours though. That is definitely going to result in soup. So anyway, let me get this into the pint. Okay, so I got everything into the Creami pint and I think it's looking really gorgeous already. I really love this color. So I'm just gonna pop it into the freezer. But before I do, if you were wondering, how did I get all that stuff out of the blender bottle? I really love these mini spatulas. I have them in a couple different sizes, but I think they're so good for scraping things out. And you know, I don't wanna waste any bite of this deliciousness. So I made sure to give it a pretty good scrape. But anyway, I'm gonna get this into the freezer and then I'll see you tomorrow when we come back and mix it up in the Creami. All right, welcome back. It is 24 hours later, and as you can see, this is well frozen. It looks like it has been hanging out with Elsa over here, but that is fine. That's what we're looking for. And I just wanted to mention, because I don't think I did yesterday, all of my recipes I make for individual servings. So you'll see that this is about half a pint. It's actually a little bit over that, but once we spin it up, it's basically going to increase in volume, and it's pretty much going to take over the whole pint, which is amazing if you're a volume eater or you're just really hungry and want something to slow you down, because you're going to have a whole pint of Ninja Creami ice cream to help you do that. So anyway, I'm going to pop the lid off and get it into the Creami. Okay, and the setting I am going to use is light ice cream. Okay, so it has finished doing one spin, and I can almost guarantee it's not going to be ready, but I just want to show you what it looks like so far. Yep, so you can see it is a powdery winter wonderland. But what I do is just take my handy dandy mini spatula here, and I'm gonna kind of get around the sides and scrape it down a bit, because sometimes the edges get a bit icy. And then once I do that, I will pop it back on and just press respin. Right, so I ended up doing 2 more respins, but I think it's going to be perfect now. Ooh. So this is it. It is looking beautiful. I love this color. It's such a deep purple from all of the blueberries, and as you can see, this pint has really filled out, so we'll be enjoying a lot of this. But I'm going to go ahead and show you some of the texture. All right, I just scooped it out into this bowl and it is looking beautiful. Now we tend to respin it a lot, so it's got this really soft serve texture. If you want it to be a little bit thicker and more like ice cream, I would do 1 less respin, but this is how we like it. And then I just wanted to remind you all of the amazing macros in this pint of ice cream. So I'm calling this my Berry Creami, and it's got 229 calories, 2.5 grams of fat, under 22 carbs, and just over 30 grams of protein. I don't know about you, but this seems like an amazing way to enjoy 30 grams of protein, and this recipe turned out amazing. It's a really great way to use up any extra fruit you have, especially in the summer or anytime year round that you have it. All right, and we have our favorite resident taste tester here who's going to give us a taste. Let us know what you think.
That is delicious.
That's awesome. But anywho, I hope you enjoy this recipe. If you did, please feel free to give this video a like and subscribe to my channel. And do let me know if you try it and how it turns out for you. All right, thanks guys.